Also looking at this high over-under, the Philly-Minnesota game. Um, so Philly's got a situation where they're sort of having their bigs on a minutes restriction. I don't even, and if we check it over before, I don't believe he's going to play much tonight. Yeah, he's going to be playing only 16 to 20 minutes Thursday. So it's going to be primarily Embiid for 25 minutes, and they don't really have a backup center, so it makes sense that Karl Anthony Towns could have a big game. And you can see the projection is pretty high at 50. So let's check out for him when I don't think the Minnesota's been favored by this much. Let's see when they're favored by more than like 3 points or so. Just see how he's doing as a favorite in general. And it looks like he, is performing a little bit above expectation, but that's not really where his best performances have been. See, he's been averaging a little bit around the low 30s, kind of disappointing in that regard. So that could deter us a little bit. See, that's where using the player cards in that way can be very helpful in steering you away from plays as well. Somebody we should be aware of tonight. Now let's check out the news section here. So up till lineup block, we're going to be having news popping in, and you'll be able to focus on individual players. But if there's team situations we want to look into, so the Sixers not going to have the Okafor. What is that? Oh, 76ers. CC Okafor, Sergio Rodriguez is playing a lot. Now, Ilyasova here, he scored 16 points, played 26 minutes, and Embiid was out that night. So now with Okafor out, I think Ilyasova is the de facto big backup. So I think that's somebody who his salary got raised up a little bit. He's got to score 19 to hit value, and recently he's been hitting that for sure. So if you're playing in a cash game, I think this guy is pretty obvious play, even if they're, regardless, Embiid's only going to play 25 minutes, so this guy's going to see a ton. And you can see he's projected for 25. So let's go ahead and add him in the favorites pool as well. So that's how you can use the news a little bit to find people, and this gets updated all the way up the block. Obviously, super important in case there's some breaking news last minute. And so just for the sake of time here, I'm going to up this bonus so I can get my guys Capella in there as well. So if you guys are building, a few lineups, you can always save individually one at a time by clicking this button here. Now, if you're making multiple lineups here, and let's just say we're making 20 lineups for the night, Sal's a big proponent of managing your individual player exposures, and that's how much is a player involved in that batch of 20 lineups. You certainly don't want to have too many players that are 100% unless you're super confident, because you want to diversify a little bit, in case of a situation where a player doesn't perform well. So here, with somebody like Harden, if I expect him to have a big night, something around 60, 70% is usually what I will keep it towards. But, you can play around with this as well and keep building lineups, adding people in. You can add Evan Turner. The exposure will just immediately change. So you can keep tweaking in the lineups and check on the news. That's the great power of RotoQL. You're allowed to do a million things at once, just all keeping it within one view. So we'll keep checking on the news here. See Dragic intends to play. If you wanted to add Dragic in, you can do that here in the favorites box. Also, you can search by team to see who's involved in that team. And if you click the Show All Players button here, you can see everybody who's involved. So if Dragic doesn't play, you can just move his exposure to 0. And then, Dragic being out would definitely help out somebody like Dion Waiters and Tyler Johnson get a lot more minutes, so maybe bump up their exposures a little bit. Put Dion Waiters in 30%, Tyler Johnson 30%, get exposure to both.